How much do you need to make in order to afford a home in Frisco? That is a question that we are addressing today. Now, beyond that question of affordability, beyond the question of the salary, we're actually going to go much deeper. You're going to see what the real estate in Frisco looks like. You're also going to see the type of home that you can purchase at different price points. We're going to get into property tax rates. We're going to get into how to calculate those and what that's going to mean for your payment. We're going to look at various payment options when it comes to the type of loans that you can take, the amount of down payment. We're going to look at everything that has to do with the finances in relation to purchasing a home, again, in Frisco, Texas. We're doing these analysis deep dives on all of the cities in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. So we've already done Richardson, we've done McKinney. Today we're doing Frisco, and I believe on Wednesday we're going to be doing, forget which one we're doing next. It might be Coppell, but if you want a city to appear on this live stream a little bit quicker, as we go through all the DFW Metroplex, then let me know in the comment section down below and see if we can bump it up and get you going in the specific city that you want to explore. So first off, let's get right into the news. Let's get right into the breakdown of the city. So let me share this screen real quick. All right, so if you can hear me okay, let me know in the chat. And also, if you can drop a like, that's going to go a long way. What I'm noticing here is that we are having some latency issues, so my apologies on that. We'll make this work though. What you're looking at on the screen right now is altos.re. This is a research-based, basically this is market data that's real time. Now, we've gone down to Frisco, Texas, right molecularly. Everything that we're going to talk about today is Frisco, from the property taxes, from the payments, from the cost of real estate, everything that goes into it. So what I really like about Altos, though, which is free for you to use, so just go to altos.re and you're going to be here. It gives you real-time market information that is meaningful to you, that it's actionable to you. So you see here, you have the median list price, you see the price per square foot, days on market, how many prices have been decreased, the price increase. So a lot of the information that we get as real estate agents within our MLS, you have access to in real time. So you see here what type of market we're currently in, or Frisco is currently in, because all cities are acting a little bit different depending on where you're at. Buyer's market and seller's market. It gives you a good index, a good visual of where this particular city is in. So Frisco at the current moment has a median price of about $797,000. So that's what you can expect to pay if you're looking at Frisco. So Frisco used to be one of the more affordable cities across the DFW Metroplex, but we're talking about 20 years ago. We're talking about 15 years ago. And I would venture to say even 10 years ago. Now it's a little bit different. You have the Star up there. You have a lot of other thriving companies coming into Frisco, specifically calling it out by name. So how I like to describe Frisco's the new Plano. Plano had this hype back in the day. Frisco has the hype now, and the city that's dethroning Frisco right now when it comes to all of the investment, all the money coming into it, even though Frisco still gets a gajillion amount of dollars, is Prosper, right? So you have that northern expansion continues to grow. But we've done videos on Frisco in the past. We've done a pros and cons video. We've done everything you need to know about Frisco. So I'll leave it for that. Let's start talking some math. Let's start talking about affordability. What I really want to show you in this particular website is this market segment is so valuable. It's so valuable for you to understand the type of real estate that you can purchase at a certain price. So many of you already know the type of home that you're going to need. You know typically the amount of square footage that you're looking for, the lot size, the number of beds, the number of baths. So you have a certain type of home, a certain size of home that you're requiring, that you need. This breakdown breaks it down into 4 quarters. It breaks it down into 4 segments. So the 25% across the board to get to 100%. It gives you different price points that you can expect to pay. So as an example, if you are somebody that needs 4 beds and 3 baths, let me make sure you can see it. If you need 4 beds and 3 baths, that's the type of home that you need for your family or for whatever your needs are. Well, in Frisco, your budget's going to be about $680,000, right? So if this is not necessarily in your budget, this isn't necessarily where you want to be, then probably Frisco isn't the ideal city for you, given that it might be beyond your price range. And that's completely okay. This is why I really like this particular website, because it just breaks it down that quickly for you. Now, if you have a need of 3 beds and 2 baths, and you don't mind this price point here towards the lower end, on the lower side of the amount needed to purchase in Frisco, then that might be the right home, right? Now, if you need 5 beds, then you need almost $2 million. So it just depends, right? So this is a really good visual breakdown. For our breakdowns, our deep dives, what we like to go with is one of these 2 segments. So for our purposes today, we're going to go with the traditional 4 beds, 2+ baths. So we're going to go here in the $680,000, about 2,800 square feet, which is going to give you those 4 bedrooms that you're looking for. It's going to give you that 2+ bedrooms that you're looking for. And most of the time, given this amount of square footage, it's also going to give you an office, and it's going to give you some more flex rooms to accommodate your specific situations. Because if you're looking at 4 beds, to have realistic, decent sized beds, you can do that with 1,700 square feet. So you have over 1,000 square feet to play with. Just giving you some perspective on sizes. All right, so now that we know what we're playing with, we understand, hey, we need to purchase a home for $680,000 for our specific need in Frisco. That's what we're looking at this moment. So we're going to take this number and we're going to do a lot of math to this. So hang in there with me. If you are looking to live in Frisco and this is your budget, congratulations. Just sit back, maybe take a few notes here and there. We're going to do the breakdown and give you a realistic idea of how much you need to earn, and also what your monthly payments are going to be depending on how much you put down. So your homework is going to be done, or your math is going to be done. Now, if you have a higher price point and you're going to move to Frisco, then everything that we're about to do, you're going to be able to do it on your end as well. Everything is linked down below for you to use and just follow along. So this is, again, for Frisco. We're going to do all of these cities in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. So if you have another city that you'd like for us to do a breakdown, we've already done Plano, we've done McKinney. I believe on Wednesday we're going to be doing Coppell, if I'm not mistaken. But if you want to see a city kind of jump the line, we do these deep dives on Sundays and on Wednesdays. So depending on when you're watching this video, then we probably have already done the video that you're looking for, or the city that you're looking for. All right, so let's jump right into what type of real estate that we can realistically purchase at this price. Now, I have to be very, very quick here, because what tends to, whenever we start, putting in too many visuals on our live streams, it shuts down my system. So I don't know why that's the case, but I tried to go live here a couple of minutes ago and it just shut down. So I'm going to go super quick. It doesn't matter what website we put up, whether it's Zillow, whether it's Trulia, whether it's Redfin, whether it's my personal website, it struggles with bandwidth. So we're going to go super quick, but I think it's very important that we actually cover this, because you need to know what type of real estate is available. Now, the size, we basically just saw that, but we want to see visually what type of home we're looking at, right? Because that's gonna dictate a lot for you. So here, let me add a few more filters so as to not overwhelm. We were saying that the medium price, we're gonna go with $550. Remember, we're shooting for $680. We know that that's the type of home that we're gonna need. So we're gonna be pretty generous. We're gonna go from $550 to $750. It gives us a good amount of wiggle room, and that's gonna it's gonna condense down what we're looking at. So you see here, any part of Frisco is available to you. You have the northeast, west, south, all represented. So I'm gonna just do a quick little movement over here. Move myself. I can already see myself lagging, so we gotta hurry, folks. So I'm gonna zoom in over here, so you visually see the type of home that we're looking at. Again, the size. We know that it's roughly gonna be a 2,700 square foot property, and we also understand that this is gonna be a 4-bed and 3-bath type of arrangement for the most part. So here you see the 550s, the type of home, which is a beautiful home, by the way. $550,000. We're going to go quickly because, again, you have Zillow for that. You have Redfin for that. You didn't come here for something that you can actually do yourself. This is more for the breakdown, the math, and go into what we are actually going to require in terms of income. So to get to this particular website, just go to jaimeresendez.exprealty.com, and you're going to be able to follow along here as well. Now, it is linked down below for you to take advantage of this as well. but just wanted to give you some quick visuals of the type of home that we're looking at. So here you see 668, 665, beautiful brick homes. You have some new homes here as well. Just phenomenal real estate. Frisco is known for its incredible real estate altogether. So this is not surprising. Awesome. Alrighty, so I promise I kind of have to cut that short because again, our software, I don't know why, but it struggles. So let's not lose the plot though. Let's keep the momentum going. We are looking for a home that is $680,000, 2,800 square feet. Our lot size is about 1/8 of an acre, I believe. 4 beds, 3 baths. That's our type of home that we're looking for. And what's going to be very important for us is going to be this math, this breakdown. So this loan clarity advisor calculator, so this breakdown that you're about to see is linked down below. So you're going to have access to this particular resource. Now, I can't claim to have created this resource because that is not true. I wish I had, because this is a phenomenal breakdown. This is a breakdown that we use with all of our clients. This particular resource that you see here is the Loan Clarity Advisor, which is essentially a calculator that gives you the control in comparing so many different scenarios. You are in power here, and the founder and creator of this particular tool is Kyle Stiggrace with Win the House You Love. So go and check out his YouTube channel. He has a phenomenal YouTube channel that breaks everything down. So it is linked down below for you to check out, which is going to allow you to use it for your particular purposes. All right, so let's get into it. Let's say, let me zoom in right here. We are in Texas. This works all across the United States. So it's going to make some adjustments based off of the property taxes, the insurance, and HOA. So remember the type of home that we're looking to purchase at this point. Remember, we're trying to purchase a home that's $680,000 in Frisco, Texas. So what we're going to do is we're going to make this adjustment to $680,000. It is lagging a little bit on me, but that's okay. For our property taxes, this is where we get into some education mode. So hopefully that's okay with you. So before we actually fill in the property tax, the HOA, and the insurance, we need to understand what goes into a payment. There's 4 elements that go into a payment, sometimes a 5th. Well, no, the 5th is not going to be necessary for our purposes today. So one is going to be the principal, how much of a loan you ask for. So if you are trying to purchase a home of $500,000 and you ask for $400,000, that means your principal is $400,000 that you're eventually going to pay back. So that's one, your principal. Then you have your interest, how much the bank is charging you for that loan. So the interest, we're going to see what the interest payments are. I'm sorry, ultimately the interest payments are as well, but you're going to see how that gets calculated as well. Then you have your property taxes. So typically, whenever you purchase a home, you're going to be required to pay your property taxes every single month, or the bank is going to pay your taxes at the end of the year or at the beginning of the year, depending on the state that you're in. But you're going to be making these monthly payments. So your servicer, your mortgage servicer, is putting that property tax in escrow for you. So they're going to pay your property taxes on your behalf, but they're collecting that amount in your monthly payment. So that's where you see your principal, your interest, and your property taxes being paid at the same time. And then the 4th component is going to be your home insurance. Because you have secured a loan through a bank or through a entity of some sort, they're going to require that you insure the property that you and their money helped buy. So your down payment is your equity stake, meaning the amount of ownership that you actually have on that property. And the loan is the bank's equity stake that they have on that property as well. So they're going to ask for the life of that loan that you have that home insured, because it's both of your homes. It's the bank's and yours. So there's no way around that. Now, if they find out that you cut the home insurance out of the equation, meaning that you're not actually insuring that home, then they will purchase a high premium home insurance for you. So just be aware of that. So anyway, those are the 4 components that you are working with. Now, I make that breakdown because your principal and your interest, they eventually go away, right? So if you get a 15-year loan, well, God willing, in 15 years, you're done with that loan. If you make a 30-year loan, if you get a 30-year loan, in 30 years, boom, you're done. That is essentially, in most cases, it's going to be a fixed interest. So you know what that's going to be like down to the penny, because you have an amortization table that shows you everything. What doesn't end, and will probably never end, is your property taxes and the home insurance, unless you choose to not insure your home after you've paid off your entire mortgage, which I do not recommend. You absolutely want to keep your home insured at all costs, especially in North Texas, because you have a lot of extreme weather that can affect it can wreck your entire livelihood if you're not careful. So those are the two components that are going to never leave. It's going to be your property taxes and it's going to be your home insurance. I go through that deep explanation, that long explanation, because you need to understand what property tax rate you're working with in any city that you go into in the DFW Metroplex, because they vary. You're going to see the various property tax rates throughout the entire DFW Metroplex. So in this YouTube channel, we've covered all of the cities in the DFW Metroplex. So we've done over 80 cities. We've done pros and cons videos. We've done everything you need to know about the video, everything you need to know about the city. So every single one of these cities, I know their property tax rate, and I've included them in the particular videos that I just mentioned. So what we're going to do right now is I'm going to actually show you how to go and find the property tax rate for this specific city, aka Frisco, so you know exactly how to calculate it on your end, because that's going to really affect that's going to really affect your monthly mortgage payment. And again, that property tax rate does not go away, because you're going to find yourself that your property taxes in Frisco are going to be considerably different than Garland. Garland is actually going to be a higher interest rate, as a heads up. A higher property tax rate, because it has one of the highest property tax rates in the entire DFW Metroplex. I'm going down a rabbit hole, but hopefully you appreciate the level of specificity that we're going with, because it really will matter for your pocketbook at the end of the day. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go to Frisco property tax rate. We're going to go straight to their website. All right, so we see property tax rate in friscotexas.gov, and you're going to see the breakdown. Now, I'm going to have to go super quick here, because again, it's such a silly problem to have in 2024, but the software, even though I have this laptop spec'd out to unbelievable links, it still crashes on me. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a photographic memory of this, because every single website, city website, is very, very dense. So we need to get off of this website before my system crashes. So we're going to say we have Collin County and we have Denton County. I'm going to do some quick back of napkin math. So we have city. All right, so we need to add 0.43. That's 5765186. So remember that 186. And then for you Denton County folks, I'm going to do that for you as well. 0.464. We're going to pretend that that's the same. That's about the same. Okay. We're going to run with 1.86. We're going to run with that. All right, let me get out of that. Now, again, take a photographic memory of this, or picture of this, because we have to head out of here. But, well, let's just quickly go through it. All the cities in the DFW Metroplex are going to have various components of your property tax rate. One component is going to be your city tax rate. That's what you see up here. The city of Frisco, that's your tax rate. That's actually on the lower end. You're going to see typically 0.5, 0.6 throughout the DFW Metroplex. Another component of your property tax is going to be the county itself. So depending on which county you're in, and you even see the breakdown, Collin County and Denton County. So if you're on the east side of the Dallas North Tollway, you're going to be in Collin County. If you're on the west side, that's going to be Denton County for the most part. Now, another component is going to be your higher education tax rate, which is generally going to be pretty low. And this is your Collin County Community College. So that's what you're looking at. Then you have the higher Then you're going to have the higher component, which is your ISD. Your ISD is going to have the highest rate when it comes to, let me X out of this. When it comes to, okay, it's going to have your highest rate when it comes to the percentage. So if your entire property tax rate is, what did we say, 1.86, you saw that the school alone, the ISD is gonna vary depending if you were on the Louisville ISD, Frisco ISD, and the other ISDs in the area. You saw that it was 1.2. So a majority of that particular rate was coming from the ISD itself. So here, when it comes to property tax rate, we're not all that far off. So let's see if we can try to split the middle here. If not, we're gonna need to leave it pretty close. You know what? We're gonna overestimate here because I can't get it back to 1.8. You know what? We're gonna be super conservative, and that's okay because that's fine. So property tax rate, 2% is actually not too far off from what you're gonna see in a majority of the DFW Metroplex. But here you see that from those components you're generally gonna have 5 property tax rates that you're paying. This one you only had 4. You had the city, you had the county, you had higher education, you had the ISD, and in some cities you're actually paying the hospital system that's in the area. So those are the 5 components that you typically see in DFW. Here you didn't have the hospital expense there, or the hospital tax. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it at 2% just for the sake of giving you a conservative price. Now insurance, I'll leave it at 0.75%. Usually you're going to want it at 0.7, especially minimum 0.7. We're going to go again a little bit more conservative, 0.75%, especially right now when we have all of the premiums continuing to rise. You see it reflected on your vehicle insurance. You also are going to see it reflected on your property insurance. So when you just see your statement this year versus the year before versus the year before, and you can see that your premiums continue to rise. Now, given that you're in Frisco, chances are you are going to have an HOA. Now, HOA is something that you are generally paying at the end of the year. That's not incorporated into your monthly mortgage payment. So your HOA, you're going to pay it at the beginning of the year. So your HOA is going to vary, and given that you're in Frisco, you're probably going to end up in an HOA. So just giving you a heads up there. So the HOA, it's going to vary. You can have some HOAs that are going to be $400 a year. You're going to have HOAs that you're going to pay $800, $1,200 a year. It's just going to vary. So that's going to really be up to you to add this. We're not going to add this particular item here in our breakdown, but just understand that that's going to essentially be a beginning of the year expense that you're going to have every year. So again, unless you dissolve the HOA, which very rarely happens, you're going to be paying that. All right, so let's keep going to understand the different types of loans that we're looking at. We're going to make them all conventional, although you have the option of doing various types of loans on this particular tool. So again, remember, this is linked down below. This advisor calculator, loan advisor calculator, is linked down below and is created by Win the House You Love by Kyle Seagraves. He has a phenomenal YouTube channel that you should check out as well. So I'm changing all of these loan types to conventional because that's what we like to compare. Just do an apples to apples comparison. If you're getting an FHA loan, then change it. If you're getting a USDA loan, change that. If you're getting any other type of loan, VA loan, jumbo loan, you can change it accordingly. All right, so what I want to do is I want to do realistic breakdowns of what you can get into a home for. So while you can get into a home for 3% down, if you're getting a conventional and you have a relatively good credit score, you can get into a home for 5% for 3% down, but we're going to actually do 5% down. And we're going to do a 10% down, and we're going to do a 20% down scenario. Now, let's dispel the myth of 20%. When I got into the industry, I used to think, I was under the assumption that you needed 20% down to purchase a home. That is not the case. The reason that 20% benchmark, or just that really has stood out for the test for all these years, is because when you have at least 20% down, then you avoid additional mortgage insurance. So if you get a conventional loan, you're going to get private mortgage insurance, which is PMI. If you get an FHA loan, which is backed by the government, Federal Housing Authority, by the Federal Housing Authority, then that is also going to have an additional insurance, and I think that's called MIP. So the mortgage insurance premium. They basically do the same thing. They add an additional percentage to your particular loan payment. So your particular loan. So if you do at least 20% down, you avoid that additional expense altogether. And you're going to actually see the amount that you save by doing this, depending on how long you own that home. So again, all of this is going to be very visual for you, and it's going to be a really good tool for you to have access to. But again, if you do 20% down, you have enough skin in the game to where the bank feels comfortable not adding an additional fee or tax, if you will, or percentage, because if you default, they can just take it right back. So, all right, so this is where it's going to be painful, because the insurance rate, this is what we were talking about earlier, where back in the day when you saw that run up in prices for Frisco, well, a big portion of that run up was because you had so many people trying to purchase a home, because historically that was the lowest interest rate that you could have ever, that you would ever have access to. So you had a lot of people buying. That's back in the frenzy days when a home that would list for $500,000 would get offers for $600,000. Like, it was just that huge of a gap. There was just such a demand. People were bidding over ask like crazy. So that was a big reason that was the case. So what we're going to do now is we're going to see today's mortgage interest rate. So I show you exactly the breakdown so you can do this on your end as well. So when I did this live stream on Wednesday, just Wednesday, it had reached 8%. I think it was 7.9 something. So you see this moving up and down, as you see right here. You see this moving up and down. And depending on when you get into contract, depending on when your loan gets locked, you might find yourself at a 7.9 versus a 7.7 versus a 7.5, whatever the case may be. But right now, at the time of this recording, we're going to go with 7.75. Now, if you're watching this weeks, months, years later, and this is now 6%, 5%, then call it fantastic, right? So that I can't control. But what I can control is giving you the information so you can make these calculations yourself. So you have all of this in front of you and can make educated decisions based off of your specific needs. So you don't rely solely on a real estate agent like myself or a lender out there to really force feed a product that might not be the best fit for you. So you're the one that's responsible for your financial decisions. I'm equipping you with the right information so you can make those decisions from the comfort of your own computer. All right, so points. If you're buying points, what this means is if you are purchasing down the interest rate, so if you wanted to purchase a interest that 7.75%, and you wanted to if you had a little bit extra money on hand, or had access to some capital to where you could purchase that interest rate down to 7.5, 7.2, every point that you're reducing, it's going to cost you several $1,000s. So every point is going to essentially be 1% of the loan. So if you get the loan of $400,000, it's going to be $4,000 to buy a point. So that's what this is referencing. Lender fees vary across the board. The reason that this is included here is once you are looking at multiple lenders, or multiple lenders have given you a breakdown of what you can expect to pay, you can insert that here. So you're comparing apples to apples, so you can know exactly which loan is going to be the best, is going to have the best bang for your buck. Now, this is what I was talking about, monthly insurance. So the insurance, the first two loans, as you saw, we did a 5% down and a 10% down. The third loan, the reason you don't see anything on the right-hand column is because we put 20% down, which means that we don't need an additional mortgage insurance because we have 20% equity, 20% down. So here you see what this ultimately means for you in terms of the monthly payment. So if you put 5% down, you're paying an additional $323 per month because you are paying that additional mortgage insurance. All right, so extra payments. If you want to do some extra payments and want to see visually how quickly you can pay that off, or how much faster you're able to pay off your loan, then you would just add them right here. We're not going to do this for this breakdown because most of us are not going to be doing that. But one tip that I do want to give you when it comes to mortgage payments is I encourage you to pay at least one more additional payment per year. So the easiest way to do this is to take the monthly mortgage payment. Let's just say your mortgage payment was $3,000, divide that by 12, and whatever that number is, pay that additional every single month. So then by the end of the year, you will have paid one extra mortgage payment. If you do that, you pay your loan down, I believe by of a 30-year loan, I believe you pay that entire 30-year loan in 23 years, if I'm not mistaken. So it exponentially helps you with a little bit more sacrifice every single month. I recognize that you might be stressed as it is. You're going to see what that looks like here shortly. Again, what we're answering here is what salary you're going to need to make. You're going to see the breakdown. You're going to see the max price, how much you can actually afford. But I want to give you the visual cues on how to, I want to give you the actual numbers on how it all breaks down. All right, so after 10 years, so we use 10 years as a benchmark because chances are within 10 years, you will have already put this home on the market and have purchased another home historically. So that's why we put 10 years as a benchmark, but you can move this. You can move this up, you can move this down. It's up to you. But after 10 years, the lowest cost loan at the end of 10 years is going to be conventional one. So you see how much it's going to be. Oh, I'm sorry. I put one on all of them. That didn't make sense because it's supposed to be 3. My apologies. As I said that, I was like, there's no way. It's conventional 3 is going to be the lowest because you put more money down at the beginning and you're paying less in interest, not only for the interest of the loan, but also because of you're saving this mortgage insurance right here. So you're not paying this additional. You don't have as much. Let me make sure I did all this right. See? All right, good thing we caught that. Okay. Either way, it's still going to win, but good thing we caught that. But either way, you are paying less in interest because your principal is less. So you ask for less of a loan, but also you're paying less in interest because you don't have that additional mortgage insurance, given that you have 20% down, 20% equity, right? So this gives you a visual breakdown of how much it cost you for the for those first 10 years. So you see within the first 10 years, how much you've already been paying or the actual cost of it. Now, if you want to extrapolate that to the 30 years and see what that looks like, you can absolutely do that. But to give you, again, the 10-month breakdown, you see what it ends up looking like. So the monthly mortgage insurance within those first 10 years, I said 10 month, didn't I? The first 10-year breakdown, the monthly mortgage insurance, what ends up costing you additional is $36,000 within those first 10 years and $31,000 if you put 10% down. And then you see the amount of interest that you're paying, because most of your initial payments, as you're going to see in the amortization table, is going to be your first initial payments are going to mostly go towards insurance at the beginning of the year, at the beginning of your loan. You can see the breakdown of the monthly payment. This is really one of the key breakdowns that you're going to need to analyze, that you're going to need to look at. So you see exactly how this impacts your monthly mortgage payment, how much you are out every single month, because that's how we operate, right? We know generally how much we are bringing in for the month, and we also know generally how much we're spending on the vehicle, how much we're spending on food, how much we're spending on daycare, how much we're spending at the gym, whatever we're spending it on. This is also going to be very helpful, so you know realistically how much you're paying per month, right? So here, if you do that 5% down, you're paying about $6,500 a month. If you do 20% down, you're paying $5,500 a month, almost actually $1,000 difference. That's basically it. So $1,018 difference. Now here's the thing. You're gonna, just so in the comment section, you're not thinking, oh, you're out of touch. Who's gonna have that much money to put down? I recognize that. I really recognize that. So I want to show you that breakdown and what that ultimately looks like, because I recognize that it's very easy for me to say, well, hey, just put 20% down. It's very easy for anybody to say that, but it's so much harder to execute on that because it's a substantial amount of money. I recognize that. So again, most important thing here is to understand how big of a jump or how little of a jump, depending on how you see it, a down payment is going to mean to your particular monthly payment. As a heads up, the more that you put down in the down payment, yes, it's going to drop your monthly mortgage payment, but it's not going to drop it down in such a significant way, in such an astronomical way. What's going to really affect the amount that you pay ultimately per month is going to be the interest that you secure. So the mortgage interest that you have. So where you see that today's mortgage, if you're buying at a place where, if you're buying at a time when it's 7.25 versus a 7.75, that's going to be a drastic difference. And I want you to play around with that calculator here for you to actually see this. We don't have time to do that today, but just gives you an understanding of what's going to actually meaningfully move your monthly mortgage payment, because that's ultimately what you're looking to. That's going to be a key indicator to let you know if this is probably going to be the right decision for you. Now, when it comes to the details, again, I recognize that doing 5% down, $34,000 versus $100,000 more is a huge jump. I recognize that. Don't think that I'm not, I'm certainly empathetic, and everybody's in a different situation. So again, what's most important here is that you understand where the numbers are coming from, how they break down, so you can make that adjustment for your particular situation. So this gives you that breakdown of how much ultimately you're paying down, how much you're paying in mortgage, and what you're going to see here is ultimately how much you earn, how much you make in your home purchase. This particular calculation is my favorite calculation because it factors in so much. It factors in how much it actually costs you to get into this home. It factors in how much of an appreciation you're going to have on that property on average, and ultimately what type of an investment you're making when it comes to your capital, your money, right? So let's just say after 10 years, if you sell in 10 years, what that's going to look like. Well, if you sell in 10 years, you see here, you can adjust it however you want. You can go up to all 30 years, but let's just say in 10 years, which in 7 to 10 years on average, that's when people are selling and going to their next property. So let's just say in those first 10 years, you had an annual appreciation of 4%. And your cost to sell was 6%. So factoring in real estate commission, factoring in any additional costs that you might have. Tax increase per year. So taxes, those are going to continue to rise. So as you saw there, the tax rate that you saw is, for the most part, it's going to stay the same. But with the appreciation that's happening on your property, you're paying more in taxes. That's what ends up happening. So your property gets assessed higher and higher and higher. And then the insurance. This one, I feel like I need to increase it a bit, but for our purposes today, so as to not overcomplicate it, the home insurance rates are increasing like crazy. You have certain states that are dropping, some providers are actually dropping states altogether. In California, it's hard as heck to get your home insured. In Florida, it's hard as heck to get your home insured as well, for various reasons. So right now, home insurance is quite challenging. Regardless of where you are. Here in Texas as well, I see my premiums on all my rental properties, and including my primary, just go through the roof. My vehicle alone, it's doubled in the monthly premium. So insurance altogether has risen like crazy. With that being said, the actual benefit and cost of buying. So you see the appreciation that's been gained. For the most part, the home is the home, regardless of what loan you get into. So that's going to be the same. The cost to sell the home, that's going to be the same, regardless of the home that you got into. The loan cost, how much it actually cost you to get into that loan. This is factoring in the money that you put out to purchase that home. So that down payment, and it's factoring in this is just the loan cost. So it's factoring in how much you've paid in insurance. Interest. Why do I keep messing those up? In interest. Property taxes. How much you paid in property taxes. For the most part, property taxes are what they are. It doesn't matter what type of loan you're in. Home insurance, same thing. So you see here the cost that it actually had on your particular, you purchasing the various conventional 1, conventional 2, conventional 3. You see the differences of how much it actually cost you to purchase that home. Now it's going to be a huge eye-opener for you is going to be comparing that to the rental payment that you would be making anyways. So this is really a huge eye-opener. So you kind of see, well, if I purchase, this is what ultimately what it's going to cost me monetarily. And okay, now you have that in a figure number. Now you have that in an amount. Over here, you see the rental payment, like, well, I need housing anyway. So if I make this type of rental payment every single month, what's that going to be after 10 years? And as I was mentioning, the amortization table lets you see exactly down to the penny how much you're paying. So at the beginning, your payments are going to be mostly going towards interest. So you see here, 456 goes to principal, then interest. So you see the interest is so much higher than the next payment. So the next month, you see that you're paying a little bit more in principal, but your interest is going down in this case. So it's inverted. So by the time that it's all said and done, you're going to be paying so much more right here. So towards the middle, let's just say, you're paying so much more in the principal and less in interest. But then towards the end of the day, your final payment is that after 30 years, and you've paid off that home, and you see the cost of the overall, that home that was valued at whatever it was, $680,000 that we're trying to work towards. Ultimately, when you factor in the interest, when you factor in everything else that's been associated to it, you paid over $1 million in 30 years, right? So this is how the breakdown happens. All right, so let's get into what you're gonna really, really appreciate. Let's get into what the actual salary is that's necessary to purchase. All right, so we're gonna make those same assumptions over here. Because a lot of us are going to be able to speak this language a lot more fluently than the loan language. Because the loan language, it can get complicated if you allow it. So again, all of these tools are linked down below. So make sure that you check them out because they're available to you. All right, so for our purposes today, we're going to go with a 5% down. We're going to say that we're going to go with this first scenario here. We're going to say that we're purchasing a home for 5% down. Now our interest rate, we're going to use 7.75. How long of a mortgage? We're going to use 30 years, although you can change that. You can do you can do 15, 20, 25. Now our property insurance, we're going to go ahead and use that 2% rate. Now remember, when we did this math, when we went to property tax rate for Frisco, Texas, we added them up, and depending on what ISD you found yourself in and also what county you're in, it adjusted it to where it was 1.86 at the end of the day. So if I want to do that exact math right here, so let's just say 1.86, I can do that here. All right, so again, it's super important that you understand what the property taxes are doing in your particular state. Now, also recognize something super, super, super important. I'm going to confuse the issue. I understand that I will, but I want you to understand this. What you buy that home for, let's call it $680,000 because that's what on average these properties are being sold at. Simply because you're buying it at $680,000 does not mean that that's what you're going to be paying in. That's not necessarily what the home is going to be tax assessed at. Meaning the tax assessment is generally going to be lower. So you might buy this home for $680,000, but the tax assessor might have it at $580,000, might have it at $600,000. Plus you have a homestead exemption, which lowers the property tax assessed value, which at the end of the day, what you buy it for, so the market rate is going to be different than the assessed rate. It's going to actually be lower in most cases. And if it's not, you're going to need a protest. You're going to need to drop that assessed value. So although I'm doing a very conservative number here of giving you the exact, I'm comparing it apples to apples. Let's just say it is 1.86%. And at worst case scenario, you're paying every single penny of this $680,000. I'm giving you a conservative look. In reality, I should be doing $580,000, $600,000, because ultimately what you're going to be paying in property taxes. But I'm giving you the super conservative. I know I know I just confused a lot of you out there, and it did me in for the longest time. It wasn't until I started purchasing rental properties. It wasn't until I started protesting property taxes all across the DFW Metroplex in Denton County, Collin County, Dallas County, Tarrant County, Ellis County, that I understood the importance of property tax rates, that I understood the importance of assessed values of my properties. Now I know. So that's why I fight like the Dickens to get this lowered as much as possible. So insurance rate, I'm going to say it's 0.75%. HOA, that's a reasonable HOA in this particular neck of the woods, so I'm going to leave it at that. The income rate, I'm not going to touch that. I'm going to say that I'm making $200,000 a year. Let's see if this is going to be enough to purchase that $680,000 home. So now that I've done the inputs of the income coming in, or basically the scenario, and then the income, if you have any debt, such as car debt, such as loan debt, such as, student loans, if you have personal loans, if you have credit cards, if you have anything that you're due, whether that's child support or anything, you want to include this here because that's going to affect what's called the debt to income ratio. So you know generally, or your lender is generally going to know, well, how much income do we have to play with? Now, how much debt do we have altogether? Because at the end of the day, you're going to need to be able to satisfy the debt that you have now, plus the debt that you're about to incur, which is AKA your mortgage, right? So this debt to income ratio, it becomes super important. So don't skip this particular section because it's super important. That's what the huge value of this max price calculator is. It gives you this opportunity to put in your specific scenario so you know exactly what's happening. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to do the big reveal and see how much of a home we can purchase. Can you see that? Okay. All right. Now the big reveal is in a conservative suggestion. So in the affordability suggestion, if you made $200,000 conservatively, factoring in your monthly payment, factoring in your debt to income ratio, you're looking at your max price being in the conservative $486,000. Now, here's the thing. This is a very conservative risk level. Are there lenders that are going to qualify you for much more than this? 100%, 1,000,000%. And we give you those scenarios. So you see here, if you're doing 5% down and you're making $200,000, you can get qualified for $630,000. You can even get qualified for more. Here you'd have to be comfortable with the monthly mortgage payment and about what percentage of your income is going to comprise. So there are going to be lenders that approve you for more. That if you want that property for $680,000, as long as it fits their debt to income ratio and they make the jujitsu moves that they need to on that debt to income ratio, you're gonna get that home. Now, that's where we get into risk, right? That's where we get into making the assumption that you are going to sustain that $200,000 yearly income. So if you have dual income, and then maybe once you purchase that home, one of you gets laid off, or one of you is staying home with the kids, or essentially you can't count on that additional income, then that becomes problematic, obviously. So here you're looking at, the risk level. How comfortable do I feel with the $6,000 payment? So for a $7,500 payment. Now, let's just say what would happen if I made $250,000 or dual income, and there was no, again, I recognize that the debt, you're probably going to need to put the car, you're probably going to need to put some student loans, you're probably going to need to put some maybe child support, who knows, credit cards. You're going to want to put this in here, of course. But again, we're just making this broad stroke approach. So if you made $250,000 conservatively, you could get approved for $210,000. This would be your down payment. These would be your estimated closing costs. Now, if you do a moderate risk level, which I personally would feel comfortable here myself, $786,000, you're $100,000 above where you need to be. So again, remember, we're going off of this scenario that where you need a 4-bed, 3-bath, and in Frisco, it's about $680,000. So here, if I make $250,000, that's in a moderate risk level, I can afford to take this particular risk on myself and purchase this home at that price. Now, there's some other scenarios that you're more than welcome to investigate on your own. You're going to see the closing costs or the other cost of buying a home, which gets into more of the things that you're going to need, like utilities, the maintenance, and things of that nature. So you have a really good understanding of what your safety cushion is, what the end of the month could actually look like, as opposed to really trying. It's basically called being house poor, where you buy such an incredible house and you stretch yourself on so much financially that you really can't afford to go out, as an example. You really can't afford to do anything beyond paying that mortgage, which can get pretty risky, can get very stressful depending on your risk tolerance. And it gives you different scenarios on different price points and how that's going to affect your monthly mortgage payment. There's so many really cool breakdowns that I encourage you to visit this and play around with these numbers as you deem fit. But for the most part, what I want to show you is that this tool right here is linked down below, and also the Loan Clarity Advisors. These are two different breakdowns. These are two different tools that you have access to, courtesy of Win the House You Love by Kyle Seagraves. So make sure that you take advantage of them. But now you see exactly how to calculate how much you need to earn in order to purchase a home in Frisco. Now you understand the property tax rates, how they affect your monthly mortgage payment. You also see what the interest payments do to your monthly mortgage payment. Now you have a really good blueprint and game plan, regardless of the city that you go into. If you are looking to move to Garland, if you're looking to move to Prosper, if you're trying to get to Denton, Arlington, Fort Worth, Dallas, Irving, Grand Prairie, wherever it is, it's going to work very close to this. So I want you to break that down very much the same way that we did, seeing what type of property I need, seeing how much it's going to cost in this particular area, in this particular city in this example, what the property tax rate is going to be, and start working those numbers and really adjusting it to your specific situation. But of course, if you need some support, this is what we do. So make sure you reach out to us. Let me know in the comment section down below. Also, feel free to email us at admin@houmeresidence.com. We would gladly do this particular breakdown for you if you would so choose. And we're selling real estate all across the DFW. In fact, we're selling real estate all across the entire country. So if you have any needs, make sure you reach out to us again, admin@houmeresidence.com. Happy to support you in any way that we can. And also, if you have a city in mind that we should probably do a deep dive on, let me know in the comment section down below. We already have McKinney out there. We already have Plano out there. This right here is Frisco. And I believe on Wednesday, we're either doing Coppell or I forget what other city we have on the docket. But if you want to see a city a little bit quicker, if you look through our channel and don't see a deep dive on how much you need to make in order to afford that city, let us know in the comment section down below. I'll be happy to bump that up the queue, because we're going to cover all the DFW cities as quickly as possible. If you have any questions, let us know. Talk to you soon. Appreciate you. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button on the way out.